The lobby gleamed under the pale morning light, its marble floor stretching endlessly toward glass doors that framed the waking city beyond. Tom moved slowly across it, the rhythmic whisper of his broom the only sound in the vast space. His work boots were worn, the leather softened and creased from years of early mornings like this. Employees in tailored suits streamed past, clutching coffee cups and scrolling through glowing screens, not one of them looking up to meet his eyes. Tom didn't seem to mind. He had learned long ago that some people only saw the uniform, not the person wearing it. Still, there was a warmth about him, a quiet calm that seemed out of place in the hurried corporate world. Every so often, he would pause to glance at his phone. Taped to the back was a small, slightly faded photo of a smiling girl with curly hair, his daughter, Emily. He carried it like a talisman, a reminder of why he worked 2 jobs and slept too little. The building's polished walls reflected his silhouette, mop in one hand, dustpan in the other, like a ghost drifting through a palace he didn't own. Yet his eyes held something more than fatigue, a sharpness, a depth that hinted at untold stories and unused talents. To the dozens of people passing by, he was just the janitor. But inside, Tom carried the kind of quiet knowledge that doesn't come from degrees or corner offices. No one in that lobby knew it yet, but the day would soon change because of him. On the top floor, the air felt heavier, as if the walls themselves were absorbing the tension. Inside the sleek glass-walled boardroom, a dozen people sat around a massive table, their voices sharp and urgent. The CEO, a tall woman with silver hair pulled into a tight bun, stood at the head, her eyes fixed on the glowing figures displayed on the large wall screen. The numbers were falling fast, millions slipping away every hour. "This isn't just a bug," one engineer said, running a hand through his hair. "If we can't find the cause, the whole system could collapse." Another slammed a notebook shut. "We've checked everything. The servers, the code base, the firewalls. Nothing's working." The CFO's voice cracked as she mentioned investors already calling, demanding answers. Papers shuffled, laptops clicked open and shut, coffee cups emptied and refilled. The air was filled with a mix of caffeine, frustration, and fear. Every minute without a fix meant more damage, not just to the company's finances, but to its reputation. The CEO gripped the edge of the table, scanning the faces of her brightest minds, searching for a glimmer of an idea. "We have some of the best engineers in the world," she said, her voice low but firm. "So why can't we solve this?" Silence followed. The kind that feels like a locked door. Outside the glass walls, the city kept moving, unaware that inside this room, $100 million problem was waiting for an answer no one could find. Tom pushed his cleaning cart down the quiet hallway, the hum of fluorescent lights above matching the steady squeak of the wheels. He stopped outside the boardroom, planning only to collect the trash and move on. Through the glass, he could see the room still tense, the executives leaning over laptops, voices low but urgent. He knocked softly and stepped inside, keeping his head down. As he moved toward the corner bin, a frustrated engineer's voice cut through the air. "We've checked every system twice. Nothing's wrong on paper, but the network's still failing." Tom paused, his hand resting on the trash bag. Something about the description sparked a memory, a problem he'd once faced fixing Emily's donated laptop at their kitchen table. "Sorry," he said quietly, almost to himself, "but have you checked the backup server's mirror sync?" Heads turned. The room fell silent. The lead engineer blinked. "What?" Tom explained, his voice calm, how a misaligned mirror sync could cause phantom errors, locking out core functions. "It's rare, but it's not hard to fix," he added. For a moment, no one moved. Then the engineers began typing furiously, pulling up the backup system. Seconds later, a cheer erupted as the main display lit up green, the system fully restored. Tom nodded once, almost embarrassed, and wheeled his cart toward the door. The celebration swelled behind him, but he didn't look back. To him, it had just been a small suggestion. To them, it had just saved $100 million. Tom was back in the lobby, mop in hand, quietly finishing his shift. The marble floor gleamed beneath him, reflecting the morning sun. He didn't expect anyone to notice his part in the chaos upstairs. He was just glad the problem was fixed. He dipped the mop into the bucket, humming softly, when the elevator doors opened with a sharp ding. The CEO stepped out, flanked by a small group of executives. They crossed the lobby with determined strides, but instead of heading for the exit, they stopped in front of him. Tom straightened, unsure if he was in the way. The CEO smiled, though her eyes glistened. "Tom," she said, her voice carrying warmth that seemed out of place in this marble palace, "you didn't just fix a glitch today. You saved this company." He tried to wave it off, muttering something about just being lucky, but she stepped forward and hugged him. The employees nearby froze, whispering in disbelief. She pulled back, looking him square in the eye. "From this moment, you're no longer our janitor. You're our lead systems advisor. Full salary, full benefits, and an office upstairs." Gasps rippled through the lobby. Someone clapped. Others joined in until the sound filled the room. Tom stood there, stunned, the mop still in his hand. For years, he had been invisible here, just another uniform passing through. Now, in front of everyone, the company's leader had seen him. And in that moment, the whole building seemed to see him too. The auditorium was packed, rows of employees leaning forward in their seats as Tom stepped onto the stage. He wore a simple suit, the first he'd ever owned, but it wasn't the clothes that drew the room's attention. It was the way he carried himself, steady and humble, like someone who still couldn't quite believe he belonged there. Behind him, a large screen displayed his name and new title. The applause faded, and Tom adjusted the microphone. "I'm not here because I'm the smartest person in the room," he began, his voice calm but strong. "I'm here because someone decided to listen to a voice they'd never noticed before." He spoke about the day in the boardroom, about how knowledge can come from anywhere, and how titles mean nothing without respect for people. Then he talked about Emily. How he'd worked long hours so she could have opportunities he never did. How fixing an old, donated laptop for her had taught him the problem-solving skills that saved the company. He announced that part of his new salary would go to a scholarship fund for single parents chasing their dreams. In the front row, Emily sat with wide, tear-filled eyes. When her dad finished, the crowd rose to their feet, clapping and cheering. Tom caught her gaze, and she mouthed the words, "That's my dad." As he stepped away from the microphone, the applause washed over him like sunlight. He knew then that the moment wasn't just about him, it was about proving that greatness can come from anywhere.